Hello, everyone. This week I wanted to talk about compression. Now, let's talk about what it is first. Compression is what you can get from a zoom lens. For example, let's say you've doubled a zoom, right? So things that were 100 feet away from you are now 50 feet away from you. Well, that doesn't just talk about bringing that in. So let's say you've got a building in the distance with a nice archway to it, right? You've got a person standing closer to you who is in that archway. And let's say they're, keep everything even, 20 feet away from the archway, and the archway is, we'll say, 40 feet away from you. All right, so the person is 20 feet from you. The archway is another 20 feet behind them. When you use a zoom lens and you cut that distance down to half, the person's not 20 feet away from you anymore. Now they look like they're 10 feet away from you. And the archway drops to 20 feet away from you, right? So now the person looks even closer to the archway. Cut it again. You brought the person down to looking like they're 5 feet away from you, right? You went from 20 down to 5. Because you went from 20 to 10 to 5. The same happens to the archway. It went from 40 to 20 to 10. But remember something. It's 10 feet away from you, which makes it appear that it's only 5 feet away from your subject, who's 5 feet away from you. So as you can see, as you keep moving things through that scale, it makes it look like things are much, much closer than they actually are. You've got that mirror on your car that says objects are closer than they appear, right? And that's because of that magnification. Now, what brought it up to mind to me, specifically this time, was the fact that I was working on a 3D model, right? I took a picture, turned it into a three-dimensional object, and printed that three-dimensional object. I was then painting that three-dimensional object. And what I realized is it takes quite a bit of practice to put an object underneath that magnification and still be able to paint correctly, because your brush always looks closer to the object than it actually is, right? Now, remember, that person was 20 feet away from the building. Now they're 5 feet away from the building. What you see is 5 feet away from the building. So you're trying to judge the distance to the archway, which is actually 20 feet. But because of the compression, because of that magnification that you've got going there, it looks like it's 5. So when you move a short distance, it actually looks like it's moving a much greater distance than it is. And when you're facing down on something to paint it, right, you have to actually turn it to the side in order to see how far away you are from whatever it is that you're painting. Because when you're looking at the top down, again, you've magnified that distance. So you've taken something that's inches away from you and made it look like it's almost directly in front of your face, in this case. So that little brush that you've got now looks like it's where it needs to be when it's not, because the object that you're trying to paint is further behind. It's further away, but you can't tell it because of the magnification. And trying to look at the object and the brush from outside the magnification kind of defeats the purpose of the magnification. Now, the magnification I've got is a video microscope. They're very handy for doing small work where you need to go see what you're looking at or what you're working on. But again, you have to take into account that difference. If you're using a soldering iron or something that's solid that you're going to press against, then it's easy to tell when you're there. right? Because you're getting resistance back. When you're using a paintbrush to do painting, the problem is it's not solid. So you don't know that you're there. And when the brush starts to give, it's actually spreading paint, so it makes it a little bit more difficult. But from a photographic standpoint, think of the wonderful things that you could do. You could make somebody appear that there's something directly behind them just by having enough distance between you and them to make up for the distance between them and the object. Then when you bring them in close, you brought the object in much closer to them, in this case the archway. You might actually make it look like they are standing under that archway, even though your subject is 20 feet away from that archway. So there's a lot of things you can use this magnification, this illusion for. I'm sure you can think of several things that would be kind of cool, that it would look like something was right there. And remember, the person closer to you is still going to look larger because you haven't changed the proportions. So if they're standing with a large building behind them and you get that distance in there, you can make it look like it's a small building behind them and closer to them, for the simple fact that they now look closer because you've got them closer to you and you've compressed that distance down. So there's a lot of things you can do here, especially if you were playing with something like miniatures, right? Change that miniature model that you've got down and take a shot through something else. You don't have an actual wagon that you can put in front of a fort or something like that, but if you can hold up a miniature and remove what's underneath it. So take two shots so that you've got a base shot with the ground underneath it, and then a shot with you holding up a miniature. When you merge those two photographs, that little image that you've got will look like it's right there at whatever the fort is or the building or a barn or wherever it is that you're trying to shoot against. So there's a lot of creative things you can do with a zoom lens. Again, don't have one, you can go rent one, but what you're talking about here, this little bit of creativity, doesn't require an expensive lens, right? As a matter of fact, an expensive lens might be detrimental to it. And you're going to ask why? Well, remember your F settings, right? I strongly suggest you get a program to help you through these because it can be a little difficult. But what it's going to do is it's going to set up your area of focus. If you're shooting somebody who's 10 feet away from you or 20 feet away from you in a building that's 40 feet away from you, you want all of that in focus. So you're going to need your F to be a larger number. Larger being that the number under the F is larger. So that more and more of that comes into focus for you. If you're shooting somebody with a mountain and you want to look like the mountain's right behind them, same thing. You want that mountain to be in focus. You want it to be crisp. And if you're using a more expensive lens, not that you can't do it with a more expensive lens, but you don't need it because you don't need that low f2.8 or f1.2. That's not going to help you out here because you need that broad focus. The f1.2 would be great if you wanted the entire background to be fuzzy behind them. But that's not what we're looking for here, right? We're trying to pull that object closer to us and pull anything else that's in between us and them in closer as well and set up that illusion. And in order to do that, you can get away with a kit lens, a kit zoom lens. So it's an inexpensive way to do it and some creativity that you can add to it. There's a lot of things you could do with it that could be interesting, that could change people's perspectives on things and be very creative. But all you have to do is an inexpensive kit lens and you're ready to go. But that's what I got for you guys this week. I will talk to you all next week.